Everyone, it's Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet my brand new pattern release, the Summer Lovin Sunhat. It's a beautiful stitch pattern of shells on the top, so it's open and cool, and then we add the brim to keep the sun out of your eyes. It's the perfect summer hat for those of you who are like me and love the summer. Now it will fit about a 22 to 24 inch head. And I say 22 to 24 because yarn is stretchy and it really just depends on how tightly you like to wear a hat, especially in the summer. Now this is a free crochet pattern on my blog, and I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. To make our Summer Lovin Sunhat, you're going to need about 3 ounces of a medium weight number 4 yarn. This hat is made with Caron Cotton Cakes, and Caron Cotton Cakes is a blend of 60% cotton and 40% acrylic, and the color that I used is called Boho Floral, and it works great for this hat. Now, I'm going to be using this yarn today, and this is our Super Saver Stripes. The color is called Candy Stripe, and again, it's also a medium weight number 4 yarn. So you have some options there with the types of yarn that you want to use. If you are someone who really sweats a lot, you might want to go with the cotton cakes or even just a solid cotton. That's not a blend. Or you might want to use the acrylic, which is what I'm going to use today. And I think these bright colors of teal and pink with the pops of white and yellow are going to be just perfect for this pattern. And again, you need about 3 ounces for this hat. We're going to be stitching up our hat with an eye hook, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. You'll need your scissors, of course, and then you'll also need a needle just for weaving in those ends. Now the hat fits about a 22 to 24 inch head. If it comes out a little bit big, you can always go down a hook size to an H instead of an I, which is a 5.0. But if it's too small and you want to make it just a bit bigger, you can always go up a hook size to the J, which is a 6.0 millimeter crochet hook. Because remember, everyone stitches differently and everyone likes a hat to fit differently as well. We're going to begin with our slip knot, and we're going to chain 5. We're going to join this chain 5 into a circle. We'll put the tail of yarn over our hook, pull it through that loop. We'll snug that down and make that stay knot so our loop doesn't come undone. Now we'll put our hook in, pull up a loop, and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. This chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. We're going to stitch 9 more, so we have a total of 10. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2 loops. So that makes 2, so we need 8 more. All right, let's count and see how many double crochets I have. Here's our chain 3 that counts as our first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I need 1 more. So I have a total of 10 double crochets. I'm going to join to the top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. Now you may have a hole in the center. And so what we're going to do is turn it over, Gently pull on that string, grab our needle real quick, and we can go ahead and weave this in, and then we don't have to worry about it later. So I'm just going to go make sure that hole's nice and closed, then go back the way I came, making sure I go through some fibers of the yarn and some stitches. I don't want that hole to come out of the center of my hat. There we go. We'll go ahead and cut that off. And now for row 1, we have 10 double crochets, join and chain 3. For row 2, we're going to place 2 double crochets in each of those 10 double crochets. Our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, so we'll place another double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3. Then we'll place 2 double crochets in each of those double crochets around. Two double crochets in each of those double crochets around. When we get back over to our chain 3, we'll join to our chain 3. Now for row 3, we're going to do the same thing that we did in row 2. Our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, and we're going to double crochet in that same stitch as our chain 3. Then we'll place 2 double crochets in each of those double crochets around. Row 1 had 10, row 2 has 20, and then for row 3 we're going to end up with 40 double crochets because we're placing 2 double crochets in each of those 20 double crochets around. So I'm working all the way around, stitching 2 double crochets in each of those 20 double crochets around, and then we'll join back to our chain 3. So now we have 40 double crochets around. We joined to our chain 3 and chained 3. Now we're going to begin our shell stitches. Our shell stitch consists of 3 double crochets. Chain 3 counts as our first, so we're going to place 2 more double crochets in the same stitch as our chain 3. We're going to chain 1, and then we're going to skip the next 2 stitches and stitch 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, skip 2, and stitch 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, skip 2, and stitch our shell stitch, which is 3 double crochets. Chain 1, skip 2, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And chain 1. And we'll repeat this working all the way around for row 4. Chain 1, skip 2, and 3 double crochets in the next stitch for our shell stitch. When you get to your last shell stitch and you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 shell stitches. You're going to have 3 stitches left. And instead of skipping 2, we're going to skip those 3. And we're going to join to the top of that chain 3. Then we'll slip stitch in the next double crochet and chain 3. And you'll have 13 shell stitches with chain 1s in between. Now, for row 5, we're going to do a similar technique. We're going to do a shell stitch. Our chain 3 counts as our first, and so we'll stitch 2 more double crochets in that same stitch, but instead of chaining 1, we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. Then we'll stitch a shell stitch in that center stitch, of course at the top, which is 3 double crochets, and chain 2. Then we'll go to that second double crochet and stitch our shell stitch. 1, 2, and 3 double crochets, and chain 2. And so that's our repeat for row 5. 3 double crochets, which is our shell stitch, in the center double crochet of the next shell stitch, and chain 2. And we'll continue to repeat this all the way around. I've stitched a shell stitch in each of those shell stitches, stitching in that center double crochet with chain 2s in between. And again, you're going to have 13 shell stitches. Here's my last shell stitch, chain 2. I'm going to join to that chain 3 again with a slip stitch, and then slip stitch to the center or the second double crochet and chain 3. And then I'm going to stitch 2 more double crochets so we have a shell stitch, because again our chain 3 here and on every row will count as our first double crochet. On row 6, we're going to be doing a similar technique. Of course, we're doing our shell stitches, but we're going to stitch 3 in between. All right, so shell stitch in the center double crochet of the next shell stitch, so 3 double crochets, and chain 3. Now we'll go to the next one. Shell stitch in that center double crochet of the next shell stitch, and chain 3. And again, we will repeat this all the way around. So shell stitch in the center double crochet of the next shell stitch, and chain 3. All the way around and join back to our first chain 3. I joined to my chain 3. I slip stitched in the next double crochet, and that makes it so that I'm in the center of those first 3 double crochets of that shell stitch, and chained 3. And you'll have 13 shell stitches with chain 3s in between. And now what we're going to do for the next 7 rows is we're going to repeat row 6. Shell stitch in the shell stitch, chain 3, repeat all the way around, and we're going to repeat that for 7 more rows, and that's going to make the sides of our hat. So we're going to repeat row 6, shell stitch, chain 3, all the way around for 7 more rows. I've added those 7 more rows. And this is the way your hat should look after you've added those 7 more rows. And you can see how open it is, and that's why it's such a nice summer hat. All right, now what we're going to do, we join to our chain 3, but we're not going to slip stitch in that next stitch on our last row or after our last row. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a solid row of double crochets. So we're going to place 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets of the shell stitches, and then we'll place 2 double crochets in the chain 3 spaces. So 1 and 2. 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets of the shell stitches, and 2 double crochets in the chain 3 spaces. And that will give us a solid row of double crochet around the bottom of our hat to work our brim onto. We'll continue this all the way around and join back to our chain 3. I've stitched that row of solid double crochets, 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets of the shell stitches, and 2 double crochets in the chain 3 spaces. I joined to the top of my chain 3 and chained 3. And so what we're going to do on this next row is we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then 2 double crochets in the next. 1 and 2. Our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. We stitched 1 in the next double crochet and then 2 in the next. 1 double crochet in the next 2, and then 2 double crochets in the next. I call this doing 2 and 2. If you've watched my videos, you know that I do that, and it's not an official term. It's just a way to help me remember what I'm supposed to be doing on this row, or whatever particular row that I'm working on. And so what we're doing, working all the way around, is 1 double crochet in the next 2, and 2 double crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And this is going to cause the end or the brim of our hat to flare out a little bit so that we can keep the sun out of our eyes. 1 double crochet in the next 2, and then 2 double crochets in the next, working all the way around the edge of our hat and joining back to our chain 3. So I've completed this row stitching 2 and 2, 2 double crochets, 1 in each of the next 2, and then 2 together all the way around. I joined back to my chain 3 and I chained 3. Now for this row, all we're going to do is stitch 1 double crochet in each double crochet around. We're not going to add any extra stitches to this row. So we'll just stitch 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets around. One double crochet in each double crochet around the brim of our hat, and then we'll join back to that chain 3. So I've completed that row of 1 double crochet in each double crochet around, and you can see that it is flared out just enough to keep the sun out of your eyes. Now the last row that we're going to do is a row of single crochet. We joined to the top of our chain 3 and we only chained 1 because we're going to do a row of single crochet. And so we'll just go right in that first stitch and stitch a single crochet. Go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both loops. And this is just going to keep the edge of our hat and help it hold its shape when we're wearing it. Just give it a little bit of sturdiness. One single crochet in each of the double crochets all the way around our hat, and then we'll join back to that first single crochet, and we will be finished with our Summer Lovin' hat and be able to wear it out in the sun and not get sunburnt. So one single crochet in each of the double crochets all around. I stitched that row of single crochets. I'm going to join to the first single crochet with a slip stitch, and I'm going to tie off. I'm going to go from behind, pull that loop in so we have a nice edge on our hat and it doesn't show where we tied in. And now all I have to do is weave in this one end, because we already did the one when we started at the beginning. But if you didn't do it then, all you have is a beginning and an end to weave in. And so I'm just going to weave this in. And I've got lots of colors going on here, so I'm just going to try to stay in that white section so I don't have it popping through where I have some of those other bright colors. Going one way, going back the other, making sure I go through fibers of the yarn and stitches. All right, we'll go ahead and cut that off. And now my hat is complete. So here is our completed Summer Lovin' Sun Hat in the Super Saver stripes. And then, of course, here is the first one that we did in the Karen cotton. I love both of them and how both of them turned out.